So I'm gonna bring them in. Go live in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah. Alright, so I got the lab on here. Just the one-man operation. So take a seat on the right, G.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the lab is right there.
Do you want to be on this side or that side? Way
It
more
makes no difference
comfortable.
to me. I
Um,
dance as well.
I think I'm good on this side.
All right.
You want to help him with his mic?
Yeah. Right now we're going to be streaming on local cable channel 10, Facebook, and YouTube.
Great.
On our
Right.
socials. So if anyone wants to know, just send them to the Facebook.
Okay.
So it's set up, and I know what.
Are we on the website?
I believe so. I just have to set it up.
Okay.
So I'd rather just send people to the Facebook.
Yeah, no, but a lot of people go to our website. Okay.
But
So what have you been doing for the last 2 years?
Partying. The only difference is nowadays it's or back then now it's indoors.
Huh.
When it used to be outdoors.
Yeah.
Now it's indoors. So, or it was indoors.
Hi-ho, what do you know? The Big Daddy G Show, the Big Daddy G Show, the Big Daddy G Show.
Here's your daddy.
Daddy G Show. Big Daddy G Show. It's the Big Daddy G Show. Now type it in, take it in. Where do I begin? He's really funny, and he's not really thin. It's the Big Daddy G Show. Big Daddy, it's the Big Daddy G Show.
Dude, you gotta try the queso with the taco meat, man. It's delicious.
Really? That's a book on how to make Mexican martinis. I've got the recipe right here. Y'all try that. Share it.
Hi-ho, what do you know? The Big Daddy G Show. The Big Daddy G Show. The Big Daddy G Show.
Daddy's home. Here's yo daddy. Near Bastrop, near Richard Linklater.
Yeah, I understand that's a really nice area.
I love it because. Are we on? On my microphone here? Yeah, this is my microphone. Oh, we're live. Hi, kids. Welcome to the Big Daddy G Show. And we're glad you made it back to hang out with us for an hour or so. Probably just an hour, though. Today we have Mr. Steve Kravetz. Did I say it right?
Correct. That's right.
Mr. Steve Kravetz. And he is from the Dallas.
Outside of Dallas, a little town called Rockwall.
Yep, a little town out of Dallas called Rockwall. And if you guys don't know about Rockwall, I'm going to give you a little bit of history as I know it.
Cool.
They were doing some digging out there, and they found this wall. And it's, I guess, 30 feet down or something like that? Or...
It's about 30 feet down,
Yeah.
and it's about, I think, 10 foot of solid wall, appearing wall.
Yeah, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll try to find you a picture on here in a minute. But it's this wall that's underground, and they're saying that it's natural. But if you see a picture of it, you're going to go, they're lying to us. Believe it or not, I can't believe that they would lie to us. So I'm going to put in here famous rock wall in Rockwall, Texas. There it is. Let's see if it'll give us an image. Maps, images. There we go. So if you guys, if you haven't found it or you haven't heard of it, or, I mean, if you go on YouTube, maybe it'll pop up in your YouTube thing. It says famous footwear. Where'd that come from? Famous footwear, famous Rockwall, Texas. Let's see. See, this helps. There we go. All right, so I'm going to show you a picture of this wall that they're saying is a natural formation. Now, I'm not a rocket scientist or anything, but I I kind of know when somebody's lying to me, you know, what is it? They're pissing on my boots and telling me it's a rainstorm. So here, let me see if I can do it sideways here. So this is the formation. Can you do a close-up, Taryn, or which one should I go to? There we go. I don't know if I'm a little crooked there. But that's they're saying is a natural formation, and that's Rockwall, Texas.
If you know any better, you'd think it was outside of Austin.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's not that far from here. So if you're in the Dallas area, and if you're a Mason, you'll know that that's not a natural setup. That was somebody made that. So, but they keep telling us that it's, oh no, it was made by nature. Yeah, okay. Well, so anyway, so he's from Rockwall, Texas, which is an awesome little town. I've been there. And he wrote another book, yet another book. But you actually have another one you wrote.
I have 3 books in the series, not in a series. The first book was the book which I had come out here a few years back, A Marijuana Man, which was historical fiction about a young man going off to college and getting involved in the marijuana business, but also about the history of the time of the 60s and 70s and 80s. The second book, which I completed just before the first of the year, that's where I've been basically put the last 2 years in his writing, is called The Bastardo. And it is basically a history of the mafia in Sicily in the beginning in the 1850s.
Nice.
And the economical and the political backings that brought it about to become popular. The most recent book is the one we're going to talk about today. It's called The Tale of the Tales. Every Rescue Dog Has a Story. And my previous wife, who had passed away in 2016, and I had been actively involved in the dog rescue business starting in early 2000s. And for 10 years ran our own 501c nonprofit dog rescue. And we were doing 35 to 55 dogs a year. And over the years, each dog that would come across our steps, and we weren't just having them all at our house. We had volunteers, 5 volunteers besides ourselves in our area. And then she had another operation organization with the same name down outside of Houston. And they had 5 or 6 volunteers. So we were doing a lot of dogs.
Nice.
And so over the years, I noticed that every dog had a funny story or an interesting story or a tale to tell.
Yeah.
And so I took a few months and put together the stories that I knew and pictures and put together a little book. It's not real thick. It's not real wordy. It's only got about 12,000 words, but it tells the story of rescue in general and what it takes to run a rescue and the importance of rescues and what's happening in the United States today as far as the dog rescue business is growing leaps and bounds.
Well, let's give let me see the book for a second. Let's give the can you do a close-up, Taron? There we go. Let's do a little background. Let's find out a little bit about you. Where were you born?
I was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Oh, nice.
And my father served in the military out in West Texas during the war. And then after the war, he went back to Minnesota and got tired of the cold weather. So he moved the family back in 1950 to Dallas. And I went to school at Thomas Jefferson High School and then college up at the University of North Texas.
Let me ask you a quick question. Who was the one teacher in your elementary school that you remember that you think?
I think I had a young lady, older lady to me at the time, but by the name of Miss Boaz. And she was a very astute young woman. She could tell people's talents. And I have always had and I always seemed to, and I didn't even realize it until I started writing books. That's what I was doing, is reading stories in my mind as a kid. And I was never the center of it. In other words, I wasn't the hero. It wasn't a fantasy about me being the superhero.
Right.
I was never a character in any of my books and whatnot. But for example, if I was in an English class, for example, 5th grade English class, and we were doing Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn, the teacher's talking about the book, and in my mind's eye, I'm seeing a guy on a raft full of logs on Mississippi, going down fishing, and that's what I see in my mind's eye. And eventually I used some of this to start a storytelling. And I had been out of college, I became a salesman, and I got involved in for nearly 20 years in the scrap metal and steel and pipe business.
Nice.
Had a business of my own for 16 years.
Okay.
And then got bored and sold that. Got involved in the swimming pool business and was in the swimming pool business for another 15 years. I had seen an ad in 1994 in the newspaper, the Dallas Times Herald, about looking for contestants for Tall Tales. Well, I had used storytelling for years and years with my clients.
Yeah.
You come in, you tell, I love that fish. I used to catch a fish this big. And so it was my way into relaxing with clientele on a one-on-one basis. So I took one of my tales and wrote it down and sent it in. And lo and behold, I came out with the first place winning of the State Fair of Texas Tall Tale Contest.
Wow. And how old were you then?
Well, this was in 94.
In 94, okay.
So it was the first time I'd written a book, a story and whatnot.
Right.
And so I started doing a little this, that, and the other whatnot. I had the first book, The Marijuana Man, I had started as a concept in the back of my mind in 1983.
Okay.
But the first word to the page didn't hit it until 2010.
Wow.
So the way I work, I don't know about other writers, I do a lot of the storylines, a lot of the actions, a lot of the interacting things in my mind, even before I put word down one.
Okay.
So kind of get an idea what direction I'm moving in and whatnot. At least when it comes to my nonfiction, my fiction work.
Right.
Now, obviously, with the dog book, there were history, and so it goes accordingly and whatnot.
Okay.
And I have the sales. I'm about to spend a little money and do some promotional work and whatnot. And the sales of the book, a percentage of the sales of each book is going to go to Back to Dog Rescue.
Oh, nice.
And whatnot.
Nice, yeah.
And I have been working with a couple of different ones that are showing some interest in participating. And so we're looking forward to some serious readership.
Right. Well, I know that we're going to talk about the books that you wrote and everything, but I want the audience to know a little bit about Steve.
Sure.
Now, I started reading the book and I couldn't put it down. I mean, I was really enjoying it because you got all these different stories of all these different dogs, and it was really, really cool. One of the things that caught my attention that I thought was really cool and I wanted to talk about, and I had asked you to send me a picture, and well, Steve's wife at the time was helping him with the rescue, the 501.
Yeah, she was actually the power behind the scenes.
Okay.
I was the money man.
Okay.
And but she was the lady that was on the phones, putting the projects together, finding. It's kind of an interesting in the dog rescue business. It's large, but it's small. There's a type of a thing, and so a lot of the people know one another.
Yeah.
And it was not unusual. You would hear on the radio and whatnot that the Fort Worth Humane Society had gone and done a raid in some place outside of Fort Worth, and there were 50 dogs.
Yeah. Of
all different breeds and whatnot. Well, what they would do would be contact different rescues.
Yeah. So
that if they had 5 boxers, well, they would get a hold of the boxer rescue.
Okay.
If they had some small dogs, then they might call us. And so that's how a lot of these rescues would interact with one another.
Okay.
And Darlene was the power behind it. And she was quite a lady.
Well, I asked Stephen to send us a picture of Darlene, and he didn't get that email, but luckily he put a picture of her in the back of the book. And as a, I think you dedicated this book
The
to
book
her,
is
right?
dedicated to Arlene.
Can we
And
do?
to the many members of the rescue community who put their time, energy, and effort into making it successful.
Right. And I think, can we do a close-up of her, Tyrone? Okay, go. Fix it. Done. And there's Darlene. Isn't she beautiful?
She was a beautiful lady.
Yeah. Well, Darlene passed away in 2016,
correct? Right? February of 2016.
Yeah, February 2016. And I wanted to show you guys, you know, part of his inspiration to tell the story, you know, to tell the story. And there she is. She's part of the inspiration. Now, I have been married before, and I know as a married man that it's not a good idea to mention, you know, a past wife and not mention the present wife. The
current wife.
Yes.
All
so
right. Louise and I have been married 4 years come September.
Nice.
Been together 5 years.
Nice. And her name is Louise?
Louise, right.
Hi, Louise. Thank you for putting up with him.
She actually is an esthetician, but had a part-time job walking dogs. And at the time we started, she had 2 rescue dogs herself.
Yeah.
So
and kind of strange names, right? Like real.
Well, she had Victoria and Vivian.
And Vivian.
Right.
I've never heard dogs been called Victoria and Vivian. I thought that was really cool.
My dog is Max.
Oh, nice.
Mad Max.
Mad Max. What kind of dog is he?
He's a Lhasa Poodle.
Wow.
And he's a loving dog. He's a cuddler, but he likes to bark.
Yeah.
And we live on the lake, and he'll go out in the back and just bark at nothing.
Yeah.
I think spirits are out there, and he's talking to them.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that because I have a dog that will stand in one of my hallways and will just stand there and look like, and there's nothing there.
But he sees something.
There's pictures on the wall.
Yeah.
But he's looking into the hallway, and the pictures are to the right on the wall.
Yeah.
So there's nothing for him to see, you know, but he sees something there.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'll bark.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I believe the dogs and cats see stuff and sense stuff that we can't sense.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
So, but I just see. When I started reading the book, I didn't know anything about you having a rescue 501 or anything like that. I didn't know nothing about that.
Right.
And I liked you already. But when I read that, I thought, dude, this guy, man, you know, people are going to remember you, you know.
I hope so.
And people are going to, you know, when they talk about you, it's going to be good. I'm the type of person that if I took in a rescue dog, it wouldn't be a rescue dog for very long.
Well, that's the problem is that when you get into rescue, every one of them, they can be in your house for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Or for a couple of years. And what Max would be in a rescue for 5 years, a lady. And what and he had placed in 3 different homes.
Yeah.
And in 3 different homes sent back.
Oh.
Because of his nature has been. Now the one thing that we happened to have with our rescue, and it was called For the Love of Lhasa. It was dedicated to our first dog that she and I had together. But we were taking in dogs that had behavioral problems. We had took in dogs that had physical problems and whatnot that other rescues didn't want to mess with.
Right.
They're hard to place dogs and whatnot.
Okay.
And we would spend money, hard-earned money, to get them resolved, issues resolved and whatnot. But the thing about it is, and I think anybody that's ever bought a rescue dog, or not bought one, but has received a rescue dog, has a rescue dog. When the dog first comes into your house and you see the face of that dog and that smile, and the dog, there's a lot of times where not a lot of times, occasionally we would get a dog in and take it to someone's home, you know, to see how they're interacting and whatnot. Yeah. And it wouldn't be a fit.
Right.
It just wouldn't be a fit.
Right.
But when you brought a dog into somebody's house and it was a fit, the dog, you could tell immediately, almost immediately, the dog knew, I'm home. I'm at I need to be.
Yeah. Was my problem is I would keep them, and
Well, you get a bunch of them and whatnot.
yeah,
You got 5 or 6 dogs in your house.
Yeah.
You begin to realize, he's cute. Somebody else needs to have some of that cuteness.
yeah, I can see that. Right now, I have 3 dogs, about 400 outdoor cats that are like half feral, half not so feral.
They're showing up to eat.
Yeah, they show up to eat and if I don't have their food at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning ready for them, they let me know.
Right.
Meow, meow, meow. They let me know. Hey, come on, dude, what's going on? And I got a couple of ducks, and I'm working on getting a kangaroo, but it's kind of hard to sneak a kangaroo in from Australia.
What do you feed a kangaroo?
Actually, kangaroos are kind of like rats. They eat just about anything. I'm just kidding about the kangaroo, but wouldn't it be cool to have a kangaroo?
Absolutely. Sparring partner to go out in the morning.
Yeah. So I, like I said, when I read about you in this book, and you talked about doing the rescue thing, I thought, wow, man, I wish that I could do that. But I would end up with 15, 20 dogs.
Yeah, well, that's why you need volunteers to take some of that load off.
Yeah.
And not be a hazard. Want to spread that joy of those dogs out with other people and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
well, you would think I would. You think I would, but
you haven't walked the shoes yet. But when you walk the shoes, and you're cleaning up after 6 or 7 dogs.
Yeah.
And feeding 6 or 7 dogs.
Yeah.
And picking up vomit off the floor for 3 of those 6 or 7 dogs.
Yeah.
And that's a 7-day, 24 deal.
Yeah.
You begin to realize that
it's a full-time job.
It is. And it is a full-time. And the thing about it is, and most people, and I mentioned this earlier, and I don't know whether people picked up on it, it's a business.
Yeah.
Because like anything else, if you don't have any money in your account at the end of the month, and you can't pay the vet, you can't pay for the dog food, you can't pay for the gas to go to visit the people and whatnot, you're not in business anymore. You're no longer a business. You're owner of a bunch of dogs.
Right.
And it has to be run like a business.
Right.
And that's the one thing. Darlene was a graduate of Berkeley in a business school, and she's a strong businesswoman.
Yeah.
And she, the hardest part of the business is fundraising.
Right.
And if you don't have that fundraising in, then you don't have a business, or you have a rich husband, or you have a husband that's willing to port over so much money a month to keep the bottom line in their black.
Yeah.
And she worked hard. She took it as a business and worked it as a business, and that's why it was successful for the number of years that she ran it. Her health got real bad. She had lupus, and it finally got to the point where she was not able to put the time and energy in. Right. So we got rid of what dogs we had, except our own, and closed the operation down. But when it ran nicely, and we would work at least 2 Sundays a month. We'd go to Centerville. We'd drive down to Centerville, and then Diane, who ran the operation down in Spring, would meet us there. Okay. And we'd exchange dogs, type of a thing. And maybe she had some dogs that weren't being moved or weren't showing an interest in, or she found somebody had an interest, but they were maybe in Abilene or something. Well, we were closer to Abilene than she was. Yeah. So it was like I said, it was a lot of hours. Yeah. And whatnot, but extremely rewarding. Dogs are dogs. I mean, they're in the front of the book. I mentioned it. I said, in the beginning, God created all the animals. All right, but He didn't name them. Right. He gave that job to Adam to name all the animals. All right, except for one. Yeah. All right. The number one animal that He loved the more than any of the other animals was the dog. Yeah. All right, and He gave him his own name. Right. Because of that. Right. And so, who's going to argue with Big G?
I know that's right. I know that's right. Here's a picture of the cute little dogs in the front. Now, I don't know if any of these were your rescues or not, but
actually, several of them are.
Oh, really? Awesome. Yeah. Can we do another close up here? And then I'm going to flip the book around. So, tell me one awesome memory that you have of of Darlene?
Well,
One awesome memory that maybe your kids or somebody would get a kick out of.
she was she had an ability to mold people and motivate people to do work, the things that she wanted done and whatnot. Even if somebody came in with a concept, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Before they left, they wanted to do it and whatnot.
Nice.
And she was quite a convincer. She would go out of her way. We had one dog, for example, that Ty, and there's this little story about Ty. And Ty was a full-blooded Lhasa, and he belonged to a couple guys. And one of the guys was not real happy with him. And so when the other fellow was out to work, he would put the dog in a cage and kick the cage, and the dog became very aggressive. Wow. And then the boyfriend got tired of it, so he got rid of the dog. Yeah. And that's when Ty came to us. Well, we had Ty, and he came to us, and he was still aggressive. I mean, I tried best that I could with my knowledge, and it didn't work. So she went and hired a gentleman out of Mesquite, and he was a Native American who had trained. His job was training like German shepherds for security work, and training horses and whatnot and stuff. And so when she approached him about Jay, about Ty, he said, "Look, lady, I train killer dogs. You know, I make dogs into killers and whatnot." She says, "Well, that's great. If you can make a dog into a killer, can you take a killer dog and turn him into a normal dog?" Yeah, there you go. He says, "You know, that should be no problem for you." Yeah. So he begrudgingly accepted the $2,000 for the 2 months' work. And sure enough, he turned Ty into a very wonderful dog. And he told Darlene at the time, he says, "You know, I've had hundreds of dogs. I've trained hundreds and hundreds. This dog has got more heart than any other big dogs I've ever trained." He said, "If I had room for him and whatnot," I said, "I'd take this dog. This is a great dog." Well, fortunately, Darlene found a lady, a very strong-willed lady in Longview that was looking for a dog. Yeah. And sure enough, she and Ty got along just fine. And Jay had sent, this is far back when, a VCR video of some information for her to help deal with Ty. Well, she would tell the story that when Ty got real rambunctious or got out of control and whatnot, she would throw that VCR tape in, and he'd run him, no matter where he was in the house, he'd run straight to the front of the TV set, sit down and whine. You know, "My best friend's on TV." And so those are some of the storylines that we've got in the book. Heartwarming. There's a tearjerker too, but all in all, it's a nice little book. Yeah. And if you want to go to my website, author, capital A, Steve, KRAV like in Victor, ETZ.com, you can buy any of the 3 books there. It is also available at Amazon and Barnes and Noble through the websites, so it's readily available. And we know that a portion of the sale is going to go directly back to the rescue business. Nice. Not my business, but the existing 501c rescue.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome that you're willing to do that. You know, and so right now you only have 1 dog.
No, we're down to 3.
Oh, down to 3 dogs. Yeah. Okay. What are their names?
Well, we still got Vivian and Max.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. No. And Victoria recently passed. I've forgotten about that. She's hard to. She's always such a cute. She was a little min pin, just a cute little min pin. And but I don't care. I mean, I've had dogs since I was a young man, and there aren't a whole lot of bad ones. Right. And if there are, somebody made them that way. They weren't born that way. Dogs are not even pit bulls. Right. Under normal circumstances, are loving and tender dogs and not aggressive.
Not aggressive at all. You know, it's all about how you raise them. Sure. If you treat them to be aggressive, if you hit on them, if you hate them, if you beat them. If if you don't take care of them, they become aggressive.
Absolutely.
But if you show them love and you take care of them, and I have one dog. His name is Gerardo, and he is supposed to be half Great Pyrenees and half Pit Bull.
Oh wow!
But I don't think that's what he is. He looks. I think a Great Dane jumped the fence or something, because
blind date.
he looks. He's got kind of like the shape of a greyhound. I guess a greyhound, and maybe Great Pyrenees. I don't know.
Right. Short hair or long hair?
Short hair.
Yeah,
but lots of it.
Oh yeah.
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 And I have this big, huge poster, king size bed, and it's
right.
It's
lots of room.
What am I going to do? So the it's got the posters, and then it's got this big, huge opening on both sides, and then the wood crap, and so I block my bed that he can't jump on it, because he's a hopper. He can hop.
Oh yeah.
So I block my bed with stuff so he can't jump in it or jump on it. Well, he can jump through the footboard. He's figured out a way. He gets a running start, and he's able to fly in. Yeah, he's able to fly in. So, he's such an awesome dog. I love dogs. I've had dogs almost my whole life, and my life just is not complete. Without a dog.
I don't think a lot of people that way type of thing. I tell the story of in the beginning of the book of when I was
a little chicken,
a little boy, about 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
We went to the State Fair of Texas, and I was flipping pennies on the dishes trying to win a stuffed bear.
Miss Peeps.
And I did get a nickel, but I didn't get the bear. I got a little chicken.
There you go.
Little baby chicken.
Yeah.
And we brought it home, and my father was not overly happy, but we had a back porch. So the Mr. Peep or Mrs. Peep went to the porch. My dad built a little box and put some stuff in it, and my job was to eat it and to water it and clean the poop, and believe it or not, chickens can become very affectionate.
Yep.
And she was very, very affectionate. And as the weeks went by, of course, the little fluffy yellows is gone, and now we got nice long feathers and white feathers, but still everything was fine until one morning. We're woken by only to find out that Mrs. Peep was a Mr. Peep. Yeah. And we lived in a commercial, not a commercial, but a normal residential neighborhood where we didn't have chickens. So my dad made an arrangement with someone that was that he knew who raised chickens, and he swapped a chicken for a Boston Bull puppy, and that was my first puppy dog or dog that I've had in my life and whatnot. And Miss Pug lived to be 21 years old.
Wow!
So while I was in college. Wow. She was still alive.
Wow.
And that beginning of a dog. And other than the 4 years I was in college, I've had a dog of one kind or other in my life.
Well, what did you feed her to that she lived so long?
I have no idea. It's just
lots of love. It sounds
love and whatnot. And she was the official greeter at the front door at the folks' house. You came in, Pug is going to be there. She's going to make sure everything's okay and whatnot. Yeah. And she just had a good life,
Well, when I read that little short story you put in the book, and you said Pug, I was thinking that it was a pug.
A pug dog, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't a pug.
No, that was a Boston Bull Terrier.
Yeah, Boston Bull Terrier. So yeah. So let me see. I wrote some notes that I wanted to ask you about. Louise. Now you're married to a lady named Louise.
Correct.
And tell me about her. Tell me about Louise.
Louise is probably one of the sweetest women I've ever known.
Yeah.
And whatnot. Now, you mentioned that you've been married a couple times.
I've been married 400 or 500 times. Yeah.
I haven't been married 500 times.
Yeah.
But I have been married 5.
Okay.
All right. So the first 2 were very short-lived. One was for 2 weeks and one was for 6 months.
Wow.
So
wait. Stop the presses. Why 2 weeks?
it was just a situation where we were both 21.
Okay.
All right. We're talking about 1970.
Yeah.
All right. Professional people get out of college. What do? You find a mate, you get married, you have kids, and
yeah,
on and on.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we did. Only after 2 weeks, I realized I made a bad choice.
Yeah.
And I guess she likewise did. So
yeah,
we eliminated that. Understanding, someone told me, an acquaintance of ours, told me not long ago, she had remarried and had a number of children.
Wow.
And that now she's got a lovely wife.
Oh, nice. Well, it is Pride. Isn't it Pride Month or something like that?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, that's a pretty cool story.
Now, how you can't argue with it with nature.
Yeah. Well, love is love, man.
That's right.
Love is love. Okay.
But Louise and I have been together 5 years, and it's her second marriage. She had been divorced and single for 10 years before we got married, and she's from Boston. Boston.
Yeah.
And so it's we come from a little bit different backgrounds and whatnot, but politically we're similar.
Yeah.
And our taste in dogs and stuff are similar and whatnot. And like I said, I've never met a sweeter lady than Miss Louise.
Nice. Well, Louise, like I said before, thank you for being patient and taking care of him, because I know it takes a lot of patience.
She won't argue that point.
Yeah, I've got some other friends named Steve, and trust me, it takes a lot of patience. To know a Steve takes a lot of patience. There you go. Let's see. So, according to the book, the first dog that you had, the first one came to your home to recoup, is what I think what you said on here. I said this book is of stories of pooches that went on to forever homes, but first came to your home to recoup. So I guess to get better if they were hurt, or if they were, to get them to open up and stuff like that.
We had a lot of dogs again with physical problems.
Okay.
That we would have to have surgery done.
Okay.
We were very fortunate. Most rescues have connections with vet clinics.
Okay.
And even specialized vet clinics.
Yeah.
And more often than not, vet clinics will work on a financial aspect, cut you a break.
Right.
Because it's not for yourself. It's for a cause.
Right.
And we were very fortunate over the years to have several really good vets that bent over backwards to assist us in getting things taken care of.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a really cool vet out on Highway 71. I think it's called Highway 71 Vet or something like that.
Right.
It's real simple. It's going towards Bastrop, and she is so cool, and puts up with me.
Right.
And so that's a good. I mean, now when you say that some of the dogs that came to you had physical problems, what kind of physical problems?
Well, for example, we had a dog that came from Houston, Marty, and he was a Maltese, and he had a heart murmur.
Okay.
And he came to us as a little puppy.
Oh.
And Diane had tried to a couple places, and they weren't interested. And then she had a couple that were very interested in him, and so she was going to stop and make the delivery on the way to Centerville to meet us. And when she got to the people's house, they had already made another acquisition of another dog. So she couldn't turn around and go home, so she brought Marty with her with the other dogs.
Right.
Well, no sooner than she had opened the door to get some of the other dogs out and what they were swapping, Marty jumped out of the car, ran into over to Darlene, sat down between her legs.
Yeah.
And for the next 10.5 years, that's exactly where you find that dog. And he barked and he yapped and he all the years. I mean, even at the 10-year point, he would still arc and bark at me and whatnot. Even though, and if I picked him up to love on him and whatnot, he'd growl.
Yeah.
He loved it.
Yeah.
But he was Darlene's dog.
It was not her.
It was like, he found home. He knew immediately. And that's like we had talked about before.
Yeah.
When they find a place they know is right, they know it.
Right.
And Marty was there for Darlene all through her last 9 months of in and out of the hospital and stuff. I would on Sundays take him to the hospital with me and visit her, and she was happy. But he was another one of the dogs that you don't know what's
Yeah.
going to be, but
Well, what would you like? What kind of advice would you give somebody that is thinking about taking in a rescue dog? Like talking about like to adopt or even if they want to think about
well,
taking
most
on a
rescues
rescue dog.
will be happy
Yeah.
to let you take a dog. If first of all, anybody that's applying for most of the legitimate rescues, the bigger rescues, do a pretty thorough investigation. In other words, they don't just anybody that wants a dog, you can have a dog type of thing.
Right.
There's a very seriously investigated. There are background checks on the people and on their past pets.
Okay.
And they'll interact with the people's vets to find out more and more background and whatnot. And when we find out that a person had turned a dog in or something like that, kept losing dogs and whatever, they were not options.
Right.
But they would be investigated, and then we would go in to their home if at all possible, make sure that it was a fenced-in yard.
Yeah.
Make sure that there wasn't any hazardous problems that they may encounter and whatnot.
Right.
And then we would take the dog if possible. And sometimes the people had other dogs, so we want to make sure everybody worked together.
Right.
And if they worked, then fine. If not, that's fine too. But if somebody was looking for a dog, maybe the first time they didn't know what it was all about or anything, they don't want to make a commitment.
All right.
But I'm sure that most of the legitimate rescues would be tickled to death to put you as a volunteer.
Right.
So you're volunteering and whatnot. You pay, you'll out of your own pocket for the dog food and stuff. If the dog's got to go to the vet, most of the rescues will pay for that portion of it and whatnot.
Right.
When a dog came in, they went to the vet.
Yeah.
They got groomed. If they need to be neutered, they got neutered.
Yeah.
If they had health issues, they had health issues taken care of on.
Yeah.
With Marty, like I said, he couldn't find a place. He came to us and he still lived 10 years, 11 years. So that's a pretty good long length of time for a dog. But it's a lot.
No.
But it's a commitment. But if you don't want to make a total commitment, let the rescue know what's coming up, where you're coming from, and what could I take a dog home and see how it fits.
Right. What kind of advice would you give people that want to foster a dog? What kind of advice would you give them so that they don't get attached to?
Well,
to the
it's
dog?
real hard, especially. I mean, over the years we had lots of volunteers come and go and whatnot, and more often than not, the first dog or two that they had ended up as a permanent rescue dog, type of thing, which is okay.
Yeah.
As long as they got a good home and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like I say, when you're in it and you're at it for a year or two or one, you begin to realize you can't take every single dog that comes across that door.
Right.
I mean, otherwise you're running a menagerie and type of thing. But it's the dogs need places to stay.
Yeah.
Besides a cage.
Right.
In some warehouse.
Right. Well, one thing that I have a friend named Mark, and at any given time, he's one of those people that can't say no, and right now, I can almost guarantee you that he's got 19 dogs.
Wow.
Because that's how many he usually has.
I hope he has vinyl floors.
Yeah.
Or concrete floors.
Yeah.
Or ceramic floors and whatnot. And I hope he's got a big ass backyard.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got a few acres down in La Feria, Texas. And he probably could benefit from some of the funding.
Sure.
Because he's not a wealthy man or anything, but
what I have offered, and if any of our listeners are involved in dog rescue and are interested in taking this offer, I have a fixed cost on each book and whatnot.
Okay.
The book lists for $11.99.
Okay.
All right. I'm willing to pay. I mean, I'm willing to get them shipped. If you place an order, if you own a rescue and whatnot and want to use this as a promotional device,
right?
Say, for example, Wounded Warriors, you can get a blanket.
Right.
All right. Same thing with the Shriners.
Right.
You know, y'all give a coffee cup or something
Mhm.
under your promotional group, whatnot.
Mhm.
If a rescue wanted to use the book as a promotional thing,
Mhm.
in other words, if somebody signs up for $10 a month as a donation on a regular basis, you know, automatically drawn from your checking account,
Mhm.
you get a free book. If you a $25 or $50, whatever it is, donation, you get a free book.
Nice.
All right. So the cost to a rescue is relatively inexpensive
Mhm.
type of a thing.
Right.
And if they want to use it to sell
Right.
on their site, you know,
Right.
designed to sell as well,
Right.
I'm happy to work with people like that. And I'm not looking to take tons of money.
Mhm.
Obviously, $12 a book,
Yeah.
and there's a fixed cost of fixing it. I mean,
Yeah.
to build it.
Right.
So, but I'm open to do that. And like I
Right.
said, the book was a book of love.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't have I know I have a lot of time to party, but I don't have a lot of time to read. And when I started reading this book, I had some people visiting, and I told them, I said, y'all are going to have to go to another part of the house and play music or do whatever it is you're
Right.
doing, because I'm reading. And they all said, you're what? You know, I said, yeah, I'm
Has it got
reading.
pictures and
So
colors?
yeah, I said, I'm reading and I want to continue reading. And so they were kind of freaked out about it. So I was like, yeah, okay. Let's see. The one thing that a lot of people, I know my mom, she's passed away, but she used to tell me all the time. She used to say, someday I'm going to write a book. You know, someday I'm going to write a book because of all the crap that you boys put me through, and you know, and so what kind of advice? Like I have an issue with writing because I spend a lot of time having fun, you know, and not that writing is not fun, because it is a lot of fun to me, but it seems like I don't have enough time
Well,
to do that. So
my suggestion is
uh-huh.
this: start a half an hour earlier in the morning.
Okay.
If you normally get up at 7,
Yeah.
get up at 6:30 or 6.
Okay.
All right. Or you go to bed at 10,
Mhm.
go to bed at 10:30. Spend, if nothing, then a half an hour.
Mhm.
If you put a half an hour a day,
Yeah.
6 days a week,
Yeah.
you got 3 hours of writing time.
There you go.
And then when you over a period of time,
Mhm.
then you say you don't have time,
Yeah.
but you just have to put aside a
Yeah.
certain amount of time, kind of a thing.
Right.
And one of the other things, you're sitting in your car and you're driving to work.
Mhm.
You're sitting at wherever at the restaurant waiting for food.
Yeah.
You're by yourself, all right?
Right.
You can be thinking about storylines. You can be thinking about what you want to put
Yeah.
and have it all ready. So when you sit down for that half an hour,
Yeah.
you know where you're going to start and where you're going to finish
Right.
and whatnot.
Right.
I try to write a little every day.
Mhm.
Now, it may not be for a book.
Yeah.
It may be just smarty remarks on a Facebook page or something like that.
Yeah.
But writing is a skill that it requires practice.
Right.
It's like anything else. The more you practice something,
Mhm.
the easier it becomes and whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah.
And when I first started writing, you couldn't read anything I wrote.
Right.
I mean, I had the words there,
Right.
and the sentences were right, but this needed to be over here, and this needed to be over here.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to learn how to write. And
Right.
writing is different than storytelling.
Right.
Verbal storytelling is one gift.
Yeah.
Oral storytelling, written storytelling is another.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to do that.
Right.
But it's, to be honest with you, I will be in the beginning of August, 75 years old.
Wow. Nice.
So,
dude. Congratulations.
You know, I have a lot of different stories that I've got in my mind. You know.
Yeah.
Right now, I've got almost worked out the second book, the Bastardo book, the Mafia book, part 2.
Right.
And I have a number of short stories I'm putting together in a book of short stories.
Okay.
So,
and the Bastardo book, you're going to have to come back and let us do an interview about that particular book. But one of the questions that I wanted to bring up is, or not a question, but something that I read about a guy, and I can't remember his name, but he wrote many movies, screenplays. He wrote The Odd Couple. Do
Right.
you remember his name? I can't remember his name. He wrote a lot of really, really famous, funny movies.
Right.
And he said, so here's some advice about writing. Carry like a folder or something with you, or even one of those spiral books with a bunch of different, dividers in it. And when you get an idea about a story, write it down. Yeah. And then continue that story. Like one section will be for that particular story. When you think of something for that, stop whatever you're doing, and just say, I just need about 30 seconds, and tell whoever you're with and write down whatever it is that thought was.
Today,
yeah.
With the phones being what they are,
yeah,
you can put it in your phone.
Ta-da! Yes. Thank you all for sending me a iPad Pro. I'm supposed to say iPro. Neil Simon. Yeah, that's his name. Neil Simon. And but iPad Pro, this is the 12.5 inch or some shit, or something like that. iPad Pro with cellular and Wi-Fi. It's got everything you can get on the iPad. Thank you, Apple, for hooking my brother up. I bought this little case for it.
Right.
And if you'll look at it, and I know people have looked at it and they go, what is that, a toy? Well, the reason I got this case, this particular case, well, for one, because I like the color blue, but two, because people are going to look at this and they're going to think that it's a cheap, what's it called? Yeah, like a notebook. It's going to be a cheapo, da 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 da. So that's why I got this one. So did we lose the signal? Tyrone? Did we lose the signal? Are we still on? Oh, there we go. There we go. So anyway, it looks really cheap. So I figured people will see it and go, it's not worth it. It's a $99 thing, and and they won't mess with it. And so that's why I got this particular one. But yeah, you just and as you get older, and I know Steve will agree with me, but as you get older, you'll realize that your memory isn't quite what it used to be. So it's best that once you get that thought, stop whatever they're doing, stop the movie, stop whatever, and write it down. Because 30 minutes later, when you think you're going to remember it, you're not going to remember it.
It just looks like a little piece of paper everywhere.
Yeah, there you go.
For different projects and whatnot. Yeah. And it's creativity helps keeps us young.
Exactly.
Yeah, keeps us young.
And now that we've talked about the book, and we've talked about that, give us as a 75-year-old young man, give us some advice, the kids that are watching now. We have age groups from 11 to I think 78. I think Tyrone told me 78 on up. So we have a big group of people.
I have been very fortunate in that my father lived to be 101.
Wow.
And up until the day he died, in fact, I saw him the morning before he passed. He was very sharp. Yeah. A very astute man. And one of the things that he indicated to me is spend less of your time worrying about making money. Mm-hmm. Spend enjoying what you do have and not worrying so much about what you don't have.
Right.
And when you get to the point where you're never satisfied with what you got, when you got to be making more money to the point where when you run into people who have so much money that they got houses all over the place, they got cars all over the place and whatnot. How much joy in their life can there be?
Yeah.
That you got to run from there to over to here to over to there, and driving all these cars, looking for something. The joy is in the purchase for them.
Yeah.
Not in the day to day.
Exactly.
And I found that and I've worked pretty much hard all my life,
Mm-hmm.
that if I make a point to try to appreciate the little gold nuggets that come in our life every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just a beautiful sunset or going outside, the birds are singing, and you're
Yeah.
taking the moment to listen to the song.
Yeah.
They're around us every single day.
Yeah.
And the biggest joys we normally think about are times in our life and whatnot. Usually happy times with family and friends and whatnot, type of stuff. But they weren't the time that you went to Vegas and dropped whatever type of thing. It was the Thanksgiving dinner, when all the family was here. All your brothers and sisters and your aunts and your uncles. And I mean, those are the times that you remember as a kid. Right.
Exactly.
And those are the times that most people remember. So I say worry less about, and I think some of the younger people are this way, less worried about monies and more about their freedoms and about being able to have something to do with the time.
Right.
With their time and whatnot.
Right.
And that's what I say is make the best of every day. If you screw up, you screw up. You got tomorrow, next 10 minutes to improve it or change it or whatever and whatnot.
Exactly.
It's all past is past, and what's ahead of you is unknown, and you can do anything and everything.
Mm-hmm. And there are times showing I guess awesome. So there's website.
Yeah.
I just we're going to wrap up the show about so much.
I really appreciate you letting me come down all the time.
And I just love it when you come because we get a really good response from them. And we're going to be talking about mental health issues. So if you're having mental health issues, and who isn't, please tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. and we're going to discuss it. Aaron O'Brien, our discussion. So we'll be discussing Aaron O'Brien and his life. And you guys will really dig it. So if you get a chance, check us out. You won't be disappointed. Again, Steve, there's his book. Tyrone's got it on the screen there for you. And please check it out, man. You will not be disappointed. Like I said, people that were visiting were like, "You're reading?" Yeah. So anyway, thank you, kids. Tyrone, I don't know when we're off because we don't have all the credits that we normally do.
Yeah, just say goodbye whenever you're ready, and I'll fade out.
Okay. All right. So again, next week we've got Aaron O'Brien life story. So and issues that he's dealt with about mental illness. And if you're having issues, man, you'll learn something, and even at 75, you're going to be you might learn something, because you got to always keep an open mind. And this is Pride Month, and remember that love is love. Okay. I would rather see two people holding hands than two people shooting at each other. So remember, love is love. Thanks for joining us. Peace.